This is going to be ranking every NBA team name based on how likely I would be to name one of my future children after them. I'm going to take the S off of every name. So, for example, I'm a Hornets fan. The child's name would not be Hornet. The child's name would be Hornet. And also my last name is Brown, so I'm going to take that in consideration too. This is going to be fun. Here we go. Dead last was a very easy decision. 76er. There is not a chance I would give my child a name with a number in it. That would be incredibly dumb. Easy decision. 29th is Timberwolf. This child could have the greatest personality in the entire world, but I guarantee you they would still have no friends if this was their name. Sorry if that's actually anybody's name out there, but I hope it's not. 28th is Trailblazer. Now, Trailblazer Brown actually doesn't sound too bad, but that is one of the dumbest names for a human being I've ever heard in my entire life. 27th is King. Now, this actually doesn't sound that bad, but how incredibly arrogant of someone to name their child King. No thank you. And 26, Wizard. I might as well name him Please Bully Me for my entire life if I'm going to give him a name like this. 25th is Pelican. Listen, this is a bad enough name for a sports team, let alone a human being. But if you'd like your child to be subject to bullying for their entire life, I highly recommend using this name. 24, Heat. Heat Brown? What? No. Next. 23, Son. Imagine this conversation. Hey, come here. Yeah, let me introduce you to my son. Like what? People would look at me like I'm an absolute moron. 22, Hornet. Now, I am a Hornets fan, but can you imagine poor little Hornet on his first day of kindergarten? He introduces himself to the class, and then suddenly everyone just starts making buzzing noises. Having this name would definitely sting. 21, Grizzly. Now, this one would sound pretty tough, but just like with poor little Hornet, can you imagine the first day of school? The whole entire classroom would just start growling at the poor kid. No, thank you. 20th is Clipper. Some of these, there is just absolutely no way you could justify naming a child, and this is one of them. 19th is Warrior. Warrior Brown. Maybe someday he could become a soldier, but can you imagine looking down at a little newborn and asking what its name was, and the person says, Warrior Brown. No, he's not a warrior, he's a baby. 18, Raptor. If you name your child after a dinosaur, something is seriously wrong with you. 17, Cavalier. Very similar to Warrior. Cavalier Brown wouldn't sound that bad until you realize it's their full name. Next. 16, Nugget. Now, I understand that their name comes from gold mining, but anyone who met my future son would assume that I am obsessed with Chick-fil-A, which I am, but there's no way I would name a child Nugget. 15th, Net. Not great, but maybe you could justify it and say it's short for something. I don't really know of any names you could say it's short for, but you might could justify this one a little bit. 14th, Celtic. This one actually could be kind of cool if I had some Irish heritage, but since I don't, the name doesn't really fit me, so it wouldn't be good for my child, but it's not that bad. 13, Piston. I could actually totally see this being a real name for someone whose parents are big into cars, but I personally am not, so that's why it wasn't higher, but this one actually could be justified as a real name. 12th is Spur. Again, not a great name, but it could be kind of cool for a little boy, and I love puns, so anytime someone came up to me and said, so how did you decide on his name? I could look at them and say, oh, it was just spur of the moment. 11th is Laker. I wouldn't really like it for a boy's name, but it could be really cute for a little girl. If my future wife is like a diehard Lakers fan or something and really wants to name our daughter this, I wouldn't be against it. 10th place is Pacer. This one could be kind of cute, and since my name's Parker, it's pretty similar, so it could have a little bit of meaning to it. Not bad. 9th place is Hawk. There's actually probably a decent amount of people in the world that have this name. I'm just not a big fan of it, but because it actually is kind of a real name, that's why it made the top 10. 8th place is Bull. Now, you guys know from other series that I love alliterations, so that's why Bull Brown seems like a great name to me, but it didn't crack the top 5 because I think the kid would be subject to some bullying. 7th place is Thunder. I actually know some kids named Lake and River, so it's similar to that one, and it sounds really cool too. My only concern would be, is he going to struggle to find a job as he gets older because no one wants to hire someone named Thunder? But at least he'd like it as a kid. 6th place is Rocket. Now hear me out. This kid would be destined to be an athlete. Imagine the other kids at the track meet when they hear they're going up against Rocket Brown. Or at the football game when the announcer says, Rocket Brown down the sideline, he could go all the way. This one's sick. 5th place is Jazz, a common name for a girl, short for Jasmine, could totally work, easy choice to make the top 5. 4th place, a little bit of a surprise here, but I got Nick. Yes, it is a normal name, so that's why it totally deserves to be top 5, but I don't like the fact that for my kid's entire life, people are going to be spelling his name wrong, or he's going to have to constantly spell it out because people don't realize there's a K in front of it. 3rd place is Buck. Now, Buck Brown sounds amazing, but when I think of this name, it sounds a little bit too redneck for me, so that's why it wasn't any higher. 2nd place is Maverick. This is a fairly common name, and Maverick Brown sounds really good too, so pretty obvious why it's here. And if I had to name my child after an NBA team, he would be Magic Brown. It's an actual name, but still fairly unique, and Magic Brown sounds really cool.